everyone. This is the June 2021 Algebra I Regent for New York State, and we are just going to get right to it. But before we do, they're going to ask you to reset your calculator. As soon as you reset your calculator, they're going to want to see the RAM cleared screen, so you press second function, then the plus button, which will bring you to the memory screen, and then you press 7 and you leave it on all RAM. You press enter just like that, and you press 2, completely reset. They're going to want to see that RAM cleared screen. I'm just telling you right now to go to mode, and you are going to turn stat diagnostics on. Trust me, just turn it on. If you reset it, the calculator, once you reset that calculator, by default it goes to off. You want to set that to on, so press enter and then go down, and stat diagnostics will go on, and that is for linear regression. Like you're going to have a question on linear regression and you want to be able to see that. So stat diagnostics goes on. Once you reset the calculator, everything is turned to off. That stat diagnostics turned to off. Now we can go on to the first question. So the first 24 questions are multiple choice, but let's get right to it. The high school club is researching a tour package offered by Island Kayak Company. The company charges $35 per person, so I am going to underline 35 per person, and 245 for a tour guide. Which function represents the total cost? The total cost is represented by C of X of this kayak tour package for X club members. So X represents the club members. So you're looking for 35 per person. We're talking about X right here. And then the tour guide is an extra 245. So your answer will be 2. For number 2, you are just taking this expression. As soon as you see parentheses, go ahead and do distributive property. We have 3 times x and 3 times 4. 3 times x is 3x and 3 times 4 is plus 12. Nothing difficult there. This negative here represents like a -1. So we're going to distribute the -1, and that changes all the signs of everything inside. So that is -2x minus 7. Then you combine like terms. Remember, you're combining whatever like terms that you have. So you're combining both x's. In this case, 3x minus 2x is just x. And then 12 minus 7 is 5. And that is a plus 5. So 1 is your answer. All right, a function is defined as k of x equals 2x squared minus 5x plus 3. The value of k of -3 is, and what they want you to do is just substitute that -3 in. So when you rewrite this, if this is an open-ended question, I'm going to rewrite it like this and show this work. This is your work. For a multiple choice question, you don't need to show work, but I am going to tell you to grab your calculator, and once you put this into your calculator, it just becomes very, very easy to do. So we are going to do that. So this is a little bit of a trick here. So we're going to take this k of x right here. We're going to take this whole thing, and we're going to put that directly into y equals. So once we have that y equals that y1, we're going to put that 2x squared minus 5x plus 3, and we're going to press second function table, which is second function graph. We do not care about what the graph looks like. So we are going to go, we want to see where that x is -3. So we're going to go right up to -3, and -3 is right here. 36 is your answer. They could have asked you any number, any x value, and it would you just have to go to that x value in your calculator. You don't have to substitute and actually do the work. Let the calculator do the work for you. And 36 is your output, so 2 is your answer. This number 4, they're asking which relation is not a function. Just remember, not a function. Every x must have its own y for a function. Let's see if the x repeats. If the x repeats 9 times out of 10, it is not a function. So this is your x value. This is your y value. Every x has its own y. This is a function, so that's out. 2 is your x, goes to 12. 4 goes to 8. 6 goes to 10. This is a function that is out. A goes to 3. B goes to 4. C goes to 3. Every x has its own y. The x's do not repeat. This is a function. 6 goes to 10. And 6 also goes to 12. That is not allowed. That is not a function. Your answer is 4. Number 5, the value of Tony's investment was $1,140 on January 1st. On this date, 3 years later, his investment is worth $1,824. The average rate of change for this investment, they're giving you the average rate of change, was 19 per. And the first thing that you have to do, you're gonna have to figure out 19 per. So we're gonna just take 1,824 minus the 1,140 from it, and we're going to grab our calculator and get 684. All right, so per year, it says 3 years later. So if you divide this 684 by 3 for the years, it's not going to come out to be 19. So I know that that's not the answer. There's 12 months in a year. In 3 years, that's 36 months. So I'm going to take 684 and divide by 36 and see if that comes out to 19. It does. That was a definitely good way to go about it. All right, so it's 684 divided by 3. I'm sorry, 36. And that would be equal to 19 per month. Right, so this next one here is just solving for x. So I'm just going to rewrite this. I'm going to do distributive property. 3x minus 24 plus 4x equals 8x plus 4. Combine like terms on the left side. That is 3x plus 4x. That's 7x minus 24 equals 8x plus 4. Now you take the smaller x and you subtract the 7x from both sides. I'm going to move over here. Right here, it's going to be negative 24 equals x plus 4. Then you subtract 4 on both sides, and you get x equals negative 28. You could always do this by substituting in each one and figuring out your answer, but I like solving. It's much easier for me. An ice cream shop sells ice cream cones and milkshakes, M, and ice cream cones, C. Each ice cream cone costs, so I'm going to underline, ice cream cones cost $1.50. Each milkshake costs $2. Donna has $19 to spend on ice cream cones. She must buy 5 ice cream cones. Which inequality can be used to determine the maximum number of milkshakes she could buy? This question is like a way to ask you something like, as far as a translation question of what's going on here from a reading problem without being able to use your calculator. So if the ice cream cones cost $1.50 and she has to buy 5 of them, it has to be something like this. right? So the $1.50 and the 5 have to be like next to each other. She didn't buy 5 milkshakes. She bought 5 ice cream cones. So that means 1 and 2 are good. And then this one and this one, she bought 5 milkshakes. Those are out. So now she only had $19 to spend. So that means she doesn't have greater than 19. She has less than or equal to 19. She doesn't have greater than or equal to. She has less than or equal to. The only one that says that is this. So 2 is your answer. When written in standard form, the product of 3x, 3 plus x, and these are 2 binomials that they want you to multiply. So we're talking about the product. And it's written in it has to be written in standard form. Another way of basically not being able to use your calculator. So I am just going to go ahead and do my distributive property. I have 6x here. Then 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. X times 2x is plus 2x squared. And x times negative 5 is negative 5x. So written in standard form, I'm going to write the largest exponent first. So the 2x squared I wrote there first. 6x minus 5x is plus x. That's out. And then minus 15. So 2 is your answer. Number 9, if x equals 2, y equals 3 square root of 2, and w equals 2 square root of 8, which expression results in a rational number? Rational number. So I'm going to try, this is x plus y, so this is 2 plus 3 square root of 2. And I put that in my calculator right here, and I get an irrational number, so that is out. Then I am going to go to y minus w. So 3 square root of 2 minus 2 square root of 8. I'm going to grab my calculator again, and I am going to go 3 square root of 2, and I'm going to press to the right to get from underneath the radical there, and then 2 square root of 8, and I'm pressing to the right one more time. I'm going to press enter, and that is not rational. That is irrational. I'm going to cancel that out. Then I'm going to take w, and I'm going to go 2 square root of 8 times y, which is 3 square root of 2. So I'm going to put it in just like that. 2 square root of 8 times, and let me just check again, 3 square root of 2. I'm going to press to the right, press enter, and it is 24. This equals 24. That's rational. No need to check 4. 3 is your answer. Which product is equivalent to 4x squared minus 3x minus 27? There's a couple of ways that you could possibly do this. You can go ahead, and I think the easiest way is to actually just go and do the distributive property and see what happens. Or you could put this into your calculator and then put one of these into the calculator and see if they're equal to each other. So we're going to do that. We're going to do one of those. So I'm just going to go 2x times 2x is 4x squared. So I get 4x squared. Then 2x times negative 3 is negative 6x. And then this 9 times 2 is a positive 18x. And there's no way I get this negative 6x and a positive 18x does not equal the negative 3x. I know that's out. 2x times 2x is 4x squared. We're good. 2x times 3 is positive 6x. And then this negative 9 times 2x is negative 18x. That is not negative 3x. I can cancel that out. It's pretty easy. 4x times x is 4x squared. 4x times negative 3 is negative 12x. And then 9 times x is positive 9x. I could stop there. 9 times negative 3 is negative 27. So if I combine this, this is 4x squared minus 3x minus 27. And that's exactly what I have here. That is your answer. No need to check 4. So I just wanted to show you for a second the method that I was talking about before, just using the calculator, none of this stuff at all. Put this into y1. We're going to put that into this trinomial into y1, and then put this into y2. And so I have it in my calculator already. So this is my y1, this is my y2. When I press the graph, you notice that it's exactly the same. And that only happens for that one because that's the answer. All right? Because they're looking for a product that's equivalent to that. So you could use your calculator 100% and that will work. All right? So number 10. Right, so f of x is 2 over 3x minus 4, and g of x is 1 over 4x plus 1. For the 4 statements about the system are written below, and you're going to just have to see which ones are true. So you have to go through each one of these. So the first thing that I would do is actually just go ahead and see if you could put those in the calculator, y1 and y2. And we're talking about when x is 4, are they equal? So I'm going to press second function and table right now. And I'm going to go down to see if they are equal at 4. And that would be, they're not. All right. So if they're not equal at 4, you could put false right here. You're looking for true statements. They're not equal at 4. So that means 1 is not a part of your answer. You could cancel that out. So the next one says when x is 12, that f of x and g of x are equal. Okay, so you have them in your calculator. So we're going to go down to x when x is 12. We're going to check it out. Yes, they are equal. It's 4 and 4. So this one is true. So that means 2 is a part. All right, so this could be your answer. 2 is definitely a true statement. So that's out. And 2 is here. All right, so we're going to check out number 3. So if we do number 3 and it works, if that's true, that means 4 is the answer. If it's false, that means 2 is the answer. So it says the graphs of f of x and g of x intersect at 12, 4. So we have to check to see at that point, which is 12, which we just did, if they intersect at 12, 4. We're going to grab the calculator once more. 12, 4 and 12, 4. That is a true statement as well. So that means that 2 and 4 are, sorry, not 2 and 4. Just at 3. That is my fault. True right here. 2 and 3 work, and 4 is your answer. Got confused there for a second. All right, so 4 is your answer. Number 12, which sketch represents the polynomial function of this? This is just a calculator question. So we're going to put y equals. We're going to clear out everything here. We're going to go back to y1, and we're going to put x, parenthesis, x plus 6, close parenthesis, open parenthesis, x plus 3. And then close parenthesis again. We're going to check that graph. All right, that graph looks like it crosses at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means this one crosses at 6. then it crosses at, looks like -3, right in between -4 and -2. That's good. And this one right there crosses at 0, 0, and the x-axis. So this one's out. That it doesn't look like that. This one looks like the answer. Let me just check to see the other ones. This is definitely not the answer. This is definitely not the answer. One is your answer just by looking at the calculator. Don't do anything else. Graph it, and then you're good. All right, number 13. If the parent function of f of x is p of x equals x squared, and then this is the other function, f of x, they want to know what the shift would be. All right. So we're looking for a transformation. The first thing that you do is put the parent function of x squared into your calculator. You don't really have to press graph, but that's what the parent function will look like. Right. Then you go to y equals again, and you get ready to put the next one in. This is where you have to use what you know, all right, in your calculator. Do you see that k? They're not giving you the number. I'm gonna make up my own number. It's k minus. I'm sorry, it's x minus k. All right, so I'm gonna say k minus 2. All right, and then I'm gonna close the parenthesis. I'm gonna put squared, and then I'm gonna put plus 5. So I put a 2 in here. Right? So I made it x minus 2 squared plus 5. Making up my own numbers. So I'm going to see where it takes the graph according to what the parent function is. So how much did it move to the right? And then how much did it move up? So basically it did not move to the left. We're out with those. It moved k units to the right, k units to the right. Did it move down? Take a look at your calculator, and you could see it did not move down. The red graph is the f of x graph, and that's not moving down. That is moving up, and that means 3 is your answer. Right? So just kind of make up your own number for k, put it in there, see what happens. That's basically it. Number 14, which expression is equivalent to -4x? Kind of surprised that this one was on there, but it is I call it back-to-back exponent, where it's a power to a power. That's what it's called. If you do this the way I look at it, I just kind of use it looks like you're distributing that exponent. It's not called distributive property, but it is -4 to the 3rd power. And remember, you have to have the -4 in the parentheses. So it's kind of like -4 times -4 times -4. So you can put that in the calculator. Just remember, if you do that in the calculator, the -4 must be in the parentheses. Sorry, I put -44. That will not work. And then press the caret button. That's to the 3rd. And -4 to the 3rd power is -64. So right now you have a number that is -64. It is not -12. That is basically it. So you just took this 3rd and just kind of distributed it to the -4. And then when you have x squared to the 3rd, it's kind of like this. If you had this right here, that's x to the, you multiply exponents when they're back to back, when they're a power to a power. You're multiplying 2 times 3. You get 6. This is your answer. Right? If you ever get confused, like I sometimes get confused, I always expand it. All right. And a lot of people like look at me and say, what are you talking about expand? Expand it. Like do what it says to do. This is -4x squared to the 3rd. Whatever's happening, this is in whatever's in parentheses, that's happening 3 times. So when you write it, you can write it like this: negative 4x squared in parentheses times negative 4x squared in parentheses times negative 4x squared in parentheses. So you do negative 4 times negative 4 times negative 4 equals negative 64. And you do x squared times x squared times x squared, which you're adding the exponents when you multiply. That's x to the sixth. That's where you can, that's another strategy that you could use to really get the answer. So this next question, number 15, which function has the smallest y-intercept? So I am just going to go ahead and start listing the y-intercept. If it says smallest, guess it's least. All right. So not m. I don't know why I'm putting down m for slope, but b equals negative 6 here. All right, you do have to know a little something about this little table here. I'm going down to number 2. The y-intercept at this on this table right here, when x is 0, the y-intercept, the h of x is the y-intercept, is where it crosses the y-axis. So if you drew a graph, you see at 0, 1, if you plotted 0, 1, 0, 1 would be right here. That is the y-intercept. So that's why this is a nice little thing that they gave you. So 1 is the y-intercept for this one. That is out because they're looking for the smallest y-intercept. So far, out of 1 and 2, that means 1 is the smallest so far. All right, so the y-intercept is where this graph, I'm going to go to right to the graph right here. This is the y-intercept. It crosses the y right there. That is negative 2. And that's out. So just to make sure, like taking a look at number 3, I'm thinking that this is the y-intercept. I am going to graph it though, just to make sure. I'm going to put it into my calculator, and I am going to see that that's definite, that it is a negative 2 as the y-intercept. So that means this is your answer, the smallest y-intercept. The next question, it says, which domain, remember, domain is the list of all x's, not the y's. The range is, when you were talking about the range, that's when you're talking about the y's, would be most appropriate to use for a function that compares the number of emails sent, x, to the amount of data used for the cell phone plan, y. They just want the number of emails sent. So which domain would be most appropriate? So an integer would not work since you can't send negative emails. Whole numbers would work. That is your answer. You send 1 email, 2 emails, 3. Rational number, remember you can't send, a rational number is like a half. It could be a terminating decimal, right? You can't send half an email. So that's why that's out. And then obviously irrational numbers, they go on non-terminating, non-repeating decimals. You can't send that email either. So that means 2 is your answer. Eric deposits $500 in a bank account that pays 3.5% interest compounded yearly. Which type of function could he use to determine how much money he will have in his account at the end of 10 years? So think about it. We're talking about depositing $500 in a bank account that pays 3.5% interest, right? Is this going to be a constant rate? Because linear, the first one that I want to look at all the time is linear. A linear function would say, if Eric deposits $500 and makes $25 per year, or let's say $100 per year on that $500, $100 per year. The second year, $100 per year. The third year, $100 per year. That is a constant rate. What we have is 3.5% compounded yearly. That is not, it's going to be different all the time. So that is not a constant rate. So we could cross that out immediately. So the one that I'm going to go to is basically saying, okay, I'm going to get to the next value by multiplying, all right? Multiplication. And the only one that does that is exponential values. All right, exponential functions. All right, so just remember, if you're adding or subtracting, that's linear. It remains a constant rate. All right, adding the same amount, subtracting the same amount. If you're multiplying, though, and you're multiplying the same amount, but it's not going to be the same amount added to the amount that is deposited. All right, so that's how you know it's exponential. That is, the multiplication is not constant. Let's move on to number 18. This is the sequence 4 to 7, 7 to 10, 7 to 13. When using the arithmetic sequence formula, this is the sequence formula. To determine the 10th term, which variable would be replaced with the number 3. So I was just about, wow, this one's going to be very difficult. As soon as I see this, I kind of shut down, right? But just remember, they only want, it's like, oh no, the 10th term, oh no, like I'm going to have to go through a lot of work here. Which variable would be replaced with the number 3? So step back. Let's look at the sequence. What's happening from 4 to 7? That's plus 3. What's happening from 7 to 10? That's plus 3. What's happening from 10 to 13? That's plus 3. Probably another plus 3 and another plus 3, right? It's a constant rate. Which variable would be the common difference? So D would be your answer, number 4. This is the one that would be replaced with 3 because it's adding 3 each time. That's it. Move on. Below are two representations of data. There's A, which has just a list of numbers, and there's B, which has a box plot. Right, so we are just going to go ahead and take a look at what they're asking here. All right, let's go ahead and kind of identify the 5-number summary from this box plot. This is the min, so the min is 4. So we know that the min is 4. The max is 10. This is quartile. Let me start with quartile 1. Quartile 1 is 5. Quartile 2, which is the median, this is the median, is 6. And this is quartile 3, which is 9. Okay, so that's it. All right, so they are shifting back from A to B, A to B. So you do have to take this and just go ahead, figure out the 5-number summary. There are 2 ways to do this. You could do this in your calculator, or you could do it by hand. I'm just going to do it by hand right now. I'm going to figure out, well, first off, I'm just going to go min, and this is for A. So the min of A is 2. The max of A is 9. All right, so easy enough. I'm going to get Q1, Q2, and Q3. And that's pretty easy to do. So we're just going to put a check mark there, and a check mark here, and a check mark here, and a check mark here. So it's 2 and 2, 3 and 3, 4 and 4, 6. We're going to make our wall on 6. That is the Q2. So we're going to do 1, 2, and 5 is Q1, the median of the lower half. It's Q1. Then we're going to do 6 and 9, and right in between 7 and 8, we get 7.5. That is Q3. And I notice right here that they're talking about the range. The range of A is 9 minus 2, so it's the largest minus the smallest. So that's 7. And then the range here for this one is 10 minus 4, and that's 6. So I think I have all my numbers that I need. So the median of A, the median of A is 6, is greater than the median of B, that is false. So you're looking for a true statement. So we're going to put F for that. Range of A, the range of A is 7. So I'm going to put 7 there, is less than the range of B, which is 6. That is false. That is not true. The upper quartile, which is quartile 3 of A, so is 7.5, is less than the upper quartile of B, which is 9. That is true. That should be my answer, but let me just check. Lower quartile, which is Q1, is 5, is greater than, so this is true, is greater than the lower quartile, and that is false. That's why 3 is your answer, and that's about it. All right, so just to make sure that you understand, when you go ahead and put this in, you could put this into your calculator. It'll give you the answer. So if you press stat and edit, you go to L1 and you're going to put 2, 5, enter, 5, and you notice that I'm putting them in, it goes directly in. 6, how many 6s? 3. I'm trying to do this quickly. 7, 8, and 9. So once you enter the list, like this is like 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and I have 9 numbers here. So once you do that, you press stat one more time, and then you go over to calc, and you leave it on one var stats, and you press enter 3 times. And you press enter one more time for calculate. It'll give you the X with the line on top is the mean. You see n equals the number of numbers, that's 9. And there's the Q1 if you press down, and the median, and the Q2, and the max. It'll give you all those numbers, the 5-number summary, if you want to do it that way. If not, then it's fine. You could do it by hand as well, like I just did. Which system has the same solution as the system below? I am going to take this and solve it. All right, so once I kind of set that up, I'm going to look to cancel out the x's, and I'm going to cancel out the x's because this is a -2. If I can make this x a 2, that would be great. So I'm going to multiply this whole thing by 2, and that would make that a 2x. Just remember to multiply the rest of the terms inside the parentheses. So 2 times 3x would be 6x. Equals 20. So now I'm working with this one and this one. I'm going to cancel out, and I'm going to have 4. Making some mistakes. That is a y. I'm going to have 4y equals 24. And then I'm going to divide by 4. And I'm going to get y equals 6. So I have y equals 6, then I'm just going to choose that first equation, and I'm going to put that 6 in for the y equals 10. And really I solved for x and y. So the x is -8, and the y is 6. All right, so now I'm going to go and I am going to basically substitute these into here. Right, so just remember, I'm going to go to this one first, because see this x plus y equals 6, I could just go and just put -8 plus 6, because the y, my x is -8 and the y is 6. -8 plus 6 does not equal 6, so 3 is out. And then I'll do the same thing with this one. -8 plus 6 does not equal 14, that's out. Then I have a -x plus y equals 14. I'm just choosing this one. When I substitute the -8 in, it's going to be a negative and a negative of a -8. So that means the double negative becomes a positive. That's 8 plus 6 equals 14. That works. So let me go to 2x plus 6y equals 20. That's going to work because it's part of this one too, and it's actually part of all of them. And that's why I did not kind of choose to do that. But I'm just going to prove to you that 2 times -8, which is -16, plus 6 times 6, which is 36, equals 20, and it does. So obviously that had to work because it's a part of every single one of these. So that means 2 is your answer. So that it's really the only one you needed to try out is this one. And that's how you do that question. Number 21, given the pattern below, which recursive formula represents the number of triangles in this sequence? So it really looks a little bit weird to me, but if it says a recursive formula, I'm thinking that the first two are not part of this. So I'm like already kind of like canceling them out, even though I'm not going to. Let me just count each one. So I'm going to put a 3 here, and then I'm going to put 2, 3, 4, 5, and then it's 5, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then I have 7, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It's easy to see what's happening. So I'm just going to kind of go to this right here. I'm looking at this one because you see this a sub 1? It says that the first term has 2. It does not, so I'm going to cancel that out. This first term here, this a sub 1, has 3, so that kind of looks like it could be it. So I'm just going to go to a sub 2. Right? When I go to a sub 2, I'm going to go a sub 2 minus 1. And that's the prior term. A sub 2 minus 1 is the prior term. So this n minus 1 represents the prior term. So the prior term, I already know, is 3, a sub 1. Right? So I have a sub 2 equals 3, because that's the a sub 1, plus 2. And a sub 2 is 5. That's good. So this is a sub 1. This is a sub 2. So let me just try it out one more time. I have a sub 3, and this is going to be my a sub 3. Right? It better come out to 7. If it does, then it's probably the answer. So do you see this a sub n minus 1? That's whatever I'm looking for. A sub 3 minus 1 is a sub 2. A sub 2, we already said, is 5. So I'm going to do 5 plus 2. A sub 3 is 7. Then we're going to go to a sub 4. A sub 4 is equal to a sub 4 minus 1, which is a sub 3. A sub 3 is 7 plus 2, which is 9. A sub 4 is 9. This is the one that works. This is the one that is the answer. Right? So I kind of canceled out these right off the bat. And that's it. All right. All right. Students were asked to write an expression that had a leading coefficient of 3 and a constant term of -4. A leading coefficient. So it means the number before the x has to be that 3. The number before the x. And they really try to trick you here, but I just want to rearrange things into standard form because they gave you terms that it's just not in standard form. Remember, the largest exponent must be first. So leading coefficient of 3, I see this one. So you have a leading coefficient of 3, and we're going to go, all right, so for this one, leading coefficient of 3 and a constant term of -4. So we're talking about 3x squared, 3x to the fourth, minus 4x squared, minus 4. And that's the leading coefficient of 3 and a constant of 4, negative 4. And so this is your answer, number 4. And when I did a double take, it was really, really tricky right here. This is negative 3x to the fifth. So that's not a leading coefficient of 3. That's a leading coefficient of negative 3. And that is it. This is a leading coefficient of negative 2. This is a leading coefficient of 3. But this is not a constant term of 4. It is a positive 4. So this one in standard form would be like this. And that is a constant of positive 4. So that would not work. So 4 is your answer. Sarah travels on a bicycle, a speed of 22.7 miles per hour. What is Sarah's approximate speed in kilometers per minute? So to do this problem, you have to go to the reference sheet. I am going to circle 1 mile equals 1.609 kilometers. Then I'm going to go back to the question and I'm going to put that right here. 1 mile equals 1.609 kilometers. She travels on her bike 22.7 miles per hour. So I'm going to take that 22.7, and if 1 mile equals 1.609 kilometers, I'm going to multiply that, and I'm going to do it right on my calculator. I'm going to press enter, and I have 36.52, and I'm going to put that down, 36.5243. So it's 36.5243 kilometers per hour. But they want the kilometers per minute. So obviously there's 60 minutes in an hour. So we're going to take that 3.36.5243 and divide it by 60. And we're going to see exactly what that comes to. I'm going to press division by 60, 60 minutes in an hour, and that is 0.6. And it's approximate speed, so that's about it. Which ordered pair does not fall on the line formed by the other three? So 1 is your answer here, and which ordered pair does not fall on the line formed by the other three. 16, 18 does not fall on the line formed by 12, 12, 9, 10, and 3, 6. I originally picked like one of these, like I put 2, and I started doing, I put x1, y1, you see what I did, and then x2, y2 for this one, and I got 2/3 as a slope. And then I picked the same 12, 12, and I did x1, y1, x2, y2, and I got 2/3 as the slope. Then I picked 2 again, and I did the slope formula again. I got -12 over -13, which is 12 over 13. Obviously, it's not the same. So that means that, like, that led me to 1. And then when I tried to kind of like put it in a table, all of these 3, 6, and then I kind of used like the pattern to make 6, 8. You don't have to do this. Obviously, already showed that that like 1 it does not fit in with, you know, as far as the rate goes. But then 9, 10 was next. You see how the x is jumping up by 3, is increasing by 3, and then the y is increasing by 2. Then the next one I put is 12, 12, and that pattern still stayed the same. Now the x increases by, like I made up 15, 14, because the x increased by 3, and then the y still increased by 2. And you see how this increased by 1? If the increase is 3 of the x, then it goes to increase of 1. There's no way that the y can increase 4. All right, so that shows me that 16, 18 does not fall on the same line as the other three. So that ends the multiple choice section. All right, so part 2, here we go, open-ended. So we're going to do distributive property. Just remember that you are to show all work here. Anytime that you have distributive property, you are distributing that number on the outside, and it becomes 8y plus 4. Remember, you subtract the smaller y from the larger, or try to, and this becomes 4y plus 4. Then you minus 4 on both sides. And this cancels. We move this down just a little bit. And you have 4y is greater than or equal to negative 16. You're dividing by a positive, so you do not flip the inequality symbol. And you get y is greater than or equal to negative 4. And that is your answer. Y is greater than or equal to negative 4. The next question is to graph this function, and it is an absolute value function, so you are going to need your calculator to do it. So here we go. I'm going to press clear. I'm going to go to y equals. I'm going to get that out. The way you get to absolute value is, remember, press math and then go over to the right for num, and that first one is absolute value. You're going to go back to the y equals because that's what you pressed. So you have to put in absolute value of 1/2 x plus 3. So we're going to press alpha x. We're going to put that 1/2 in. Inside the absolute value, we're going to press to the right x, and it's 1/2 x plus 3. We're just going to check that out, plus 3. And we are going to get outside of that absolute value. We're going to press graph. So that is what the graph looks like, but you only have to graph it from this interval. So I am going to go to negative 8 on my table. I'm going to go all the way up to negative 8. And I am going to start there. Negative 8, 1. So it is x is greater than or equal to negative 8. So that means negative 8 is right here, and 1. This is a nice closed circle because it's or equal to. Then I am going to go to the next one, and I see negative 7.5. I am skipping that. Negative 6, 0. That is one that I will graph, and that's right here. Negative 6, 0. I'm going to go to the next one, which is negative 5.5. I'm not going to graph it. Negative 4, 1. I am going to go there. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1 up. I only have to graph to this 0. X is less than or equal to 0. So that means I'm going to keep on going. I'm going to go down. Negative 2, 2. Negative 2, 2 up. Then I'm going to go to negative 1, and I'm going to go to 0, 0, 3. I'm going to put a closed circle on 0, 3. And that's all I'm going to graph, because this is called a piecewise function. Remember, a piecewise function only wants a piece of that graph. So that's what I'm graphing, just from negative 8 to 0, and including that, right? And that's why they are closed circles. So please go ahead and put f of x equals, and an absolute value of 1/2 x plus 3. This is over the interval of this And that is all that you have to do for that question. All right. So for the next question, this says the table below shows the height in feet h of x of a hot air balloon in the number of minutes t that the balloon is in the air. The function h of t equals 30.5 t plus 8.7 can be used to model this table. They give you the function there. Explain the meaning of the slope in the context of the problem. So we're taking a look, and remember, rate is the number before x, and in this case it's t. So it's 30.5, and you're looking at the table and you say, okay, it's 30.5 feet per minute that the balloon is increasing. So I'm just going to answer that question. The height of the balloon increases 30.5 feet per minute. Explain the meaning of the y-intercept in the context of the problem. And the other number is the y-intercept. So they're giving you the equation. So it's pretty easy. The balloon has an initial height of 8.7 feet before it started increasing to 30.5 feet per minute. So number 28, whenever it says factor completely, you know you're in for at least 2 steps here. So I'm just going to kind of look at it and say x to the 4th minus 16 looks like almost the difference of squares, right? Difference of squares. So I'm just going to put down x squared minus 4 and then x squared plus 4. But you're kind of like, okay, there has to be one more step. It says factor completely. So you remember, like, the difference of squares has to be like a minus. So we're talking about this right here, this x squared minus 4. You could break that down into what times what equals that negative 4. So it's x times x, okay? So we're breaking it down further because it says factor completely. You know there's not just one step. But what times what equals negative 4, positive 2, and then negative 2. And then this just stays like this, and you are finished. You factored it completely. It is done. And you can move on to the next question. All right, so Mike knows that 3, 6.5, and 4, 17.55 are points on a graph of an exponential function, g of x, and wants to find another point of the graph of this function. First, he subtracts 6.5 and 17.55 to get 11. So he subtracts. And he gets, okay, so he's trying to find the increase here, right? And then he adds to get to another point here. So he's adding and he gets 28.6. So I'm going to put that here. So the y he's figuring out is 28.6, and he's adding the 11.05 to get there. And then, so he sees that the x's go from 3 to 4 and figures that it is 5 because this is a plus 1. So the x's are increasing by 1, and he thinks that the y's are increasing by 11.05. And he states that 28.6 is a given point on g of x. Is he correct? Explain your reasoning. And basically he's not correct because he's calculating the next point on g of x as if it is a linear function. He's using addition to do it. So exponential functions do not work that way. And that is your answer. All right, number 30, here we go. Use the method of completing the square to determine the vertex. So right now they are throwing this one out at you, and they're going to hope that, you know, hopefully you know those steps just to get like a point or two or get the whole thing correct. All right, state the coordinates of the vertex. So first off, we're starting with f of x, and we're going to take x squared minus 14x and minus 15. I'm just restating what's on up here. I'm just putting it down here. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to move that 15 over, right, by adding. So I'm going to add 15 to both sides. And when I add 15 to both sides, it kind of looks like this. So then completing the square, you're going to take 14, you're going to take the b, and you're going to divide it by 2, and you get negative 7. Then you take that answer and you square it, and this becomes 49. So once you go back, you have x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals 15 plus 49. So what we're going to do is, I'm just going to rewrite this, x squared minus 14x plus 49 equals 15 plus 49 is 64. So just remember, you have a trinomial here, and there's going to be, that's the product of two binomials, right? So remember, this number here is what is going to be inside the parenthesis. So it's x minus 7 times x minus 7, right? Because look, if you're looking for two numbers that multiply to 49, you're completing the square. So this is like a perfect square, 49. Right? So negative 7 times negative 7 is positive 49, and negative 7 plus negative 7 is negative 14x. That's why this works out. And then equals 64. So what you're going to do is, I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to put it over here as x minus 7. I'm going to rewrite it. That looks horrible. X minus 7 squared equals 64. Then we are looking for the vertex. We're not looking for the zeros. So we're going to take this 64 and we're just going to move it over to the side where the x minus 7 squared is. So now this is going to be your vertex form. This is vertex form. And your vertex is the number inside the parenthesis, the opposite of that number. Just think of negative 7 squared is not going to be that negative 7. It's like positive 7, but it's not the way it works. But like, that's the way I think of it. It's like, all right, the opposite of what's inside the parentheses. So we're talking about the vertex right here of 7. And outside the parentheses, this minus 64, it stays the same. So that's your vertex. So if you are stuck right here, if you want to check to see if your vertex is correct, you put this directly into your calculator and you can see exactly what it is that the vertex is, right? To see if you're correct. And I'll do that quickly. So I put this into the calculator. I'm going to press graph, and you're going to notice that I cannot see the vertex at all. All right. So I'm going to go to the window, and I am going to go down. I'm going to go to the Y min, and I'm just going to go to negative 100 and see if that works out. And I could see the vertex, right? You see, I could see the vertex here. If I really wanted to, I could increase the x max by, like, say 10, and I could put 20, and I could see the vertex perfectly there, right? So just quickly, again, I have the vertex already. I'm just checking to see if it's correct. I'm going to press second function and trace. And then I'm going to look for the minimum, because when I see this right here, this parabola is facing up, the minimum is the lowest point. So second function trace, and I'm going to press minimum, puts 3. And you see it says left bound. I'm just going to move it over a little bit. You don't really have to. You press enter. And then right bound, I'm going to move it over to the right side of the lowest point. And then it says guess, and I'm not going to touch it. And I'm going to press it again. And it's 7, -64, 7, -64. I checked it out. It works. It's perfect. We're done. All right. So just so I messed with the window here and stuff like that. So I'm just going to go ahead and press zoom. And you see this standard, the 6, that brings it back to a 10 by 10 graph. Just so the next question that I put in, I'm not looking at a graph that I messed with the window, and everything's back to a 10 by 10. All right. So that is finished. Number 31. The temperature inside a cooling unit is measured in Celsius. Josh wants to find out how cold it is in Fahrenheit. So it says solve the formula for F. So I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it. It's always too small for me. They give you a lot of room, so just rewrite it, make it nice and big so you can focus on what you have to solve. You have to solve for F. Please don't distribute. You'll really mess things up. You'll make it a lot more difficult. I want to get rid of this 5/9. So the way that I do that is to multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal is 9/5. And I'm going to do that same thing here. I'm going to put this 9/5. I'm going to cancel out the 9s, and I'm going to cancel out the 5s. And I'm going to put 9c/5 equals F minus 32. Then obviously to solve for F, I'm just going to add 32 to both sides. Once that is accomplished, I am going to put 9c/5 plus 32 equals F. And that is solved for F. And I'm finished. All right, so this one here says solve to the nearest hundredth. So you know that you're not going to leave anything like that is not rounded. You're not going to leave anything in radical form, square root with the square root or anything like that. You have to figure out exactly what's going on. So that means that you have to just, I would say, use the quadratic formula. You get the quadratic formula by going to the reference sheet. It is right on there. I wrote it down here. And then you label what you feel the A is and the B and the C, and exactly what I put there. So when you go ahead and you put this down for negative B, you're putting negative 12, and then you're putting plus minus the square root of B squared, which is 12 squared, minus 4 times A times negative times C, which is negative 44. So, and that's all over 2 times A, which is 2 times 4, right? So I'm going to change that A to a 4 right here. So everything is ready to go. I am going to now just put into my calculator 12 squared minus 4 times 4. So I'm just going to move this over. And I'm going to put that right into my calculator without the square root. All right, I'm going to get 848. So underneath the radical, underneath the square root, I am going to get 848. So when I put that down, I'm going to put it down just like this. And that 2 times 4 is the 8. So once I get that, I am going to go and split up that equation, right? I'm splitting it up into negative 12 plus square root of 848 over 8, and x equals negative 12 minus square root of 848 over 8. So this side right here, I'm going to put that into the calculator. All right. And I'm going to put the whole thing in this time. So I'm going to put it in as a fraction. So I'm going to press alpha x. I'm going to put negative 12 on the top there as the numerator plus the square root of 848 over 8. And I'm going to press enter, and I'm going to get 2.14 nearest to 100th. So I'm going to put x and squiggly equal sign 2.14. And I'm going to do the same thing. Alpha x, negative 12 minus second function square root of 848 over 8. Enter. And x squiggly equal sign means, and I'm going to round that to the nearest 100th, and that means approximate. So that is x, and this is the squiggly equal sign, if you don't know. All right, so those are the roots. If your calculator doesn't do the alpha x thing, you could do alpha y, and you could press 1, and the fraction symbol will come up that way. All right, so these are your answers right here. And that's to the nearest 100th. And that is 32. All right, 33, a little bit more difficult here. Joey recorded his heart rate. State the linear regression equation that estimates his heart rate per number of jumping jacks. So it's telling you this is your x, this is your y. Remember I told you about resetting the calculator here. And once you reset the calculator, that your stat diagnostics is going to be off. So just remember, the mode is where you get that stat diagnostics there, and I already turned it on. So when you reset your calculator, the first thing you do, and here's the question about linear regression, so you need that stat diagnostics on. So I'm going to clear this, and I'm going to press stat, and I'm going to go to edit. All right, I have a list already in there. I'm going to go up to L1 and press clear, and I'm going to press enter, and that list will be gone. All right, I'm going to input this list as L1, the X is L1, and the Y as L2. And now I put all of those numbers in to my L1 and L2 right there, and you can see that. I am going to get the linear regression equation that comes with it, and I am just going to press stat. Move this over here. I'm going to press stat. And I'm going to go to calc, and I'm going, instead of 1 var stats, I'm going to press 4. Right? So my linear regression, my X list is L1, my Y list is L2, and now I'm going to press enter and go to calculate, and I am going to have my linear regression equation. So this is y equals ax plus b. My a is the slope, my b is the y-intercept. And this is exactly what they want you to put down. And it does not say to round, but I'm going to just put a equals 1.72. It doesn't say to round because it's rounded already, so I'm just going to report what my screen says. It is 69.4. So I'm going to put y equals 1.72 x plus 69.4. And that is my linear regression equation that estimates the heart rate per number of jumping jacks. And there we go. State the correlation coefficient. So the correlation coefficient is the R. Right, so let me bring that calculator back up and let me see if it does say R. It does. It is 0.96. No, wait, let me see something. Round to the nearest hundredth. So it's 0.97. Because that next number right there, 0.96 is a 7. You round that up to 7. So, state the correlation coefficient. I did explain what the correlation coefficient suggests in the context of the problem. So this is the, when it says explain the correlation coefficient, it suggests in the context of the problem. The closer you are to 1 or -1, the stronger the correlation. If you're closer to -1, you say very strong negative. If you're closer to +1, you say very strong positive. They don't really ask, they might ask weak positive or weak negative. So just realize that that is 0.5 or less. When it gets really close to 0, you could say very weak negative or very weak positive. But in this case, it's a very strong positive because it is close to 1. And that's really what it is. And that's what I'm going to put down here. So just taking a look at it, there is a very strong positive correlation between number of jumping jacks and heart rate. Just throw the words at them that they use right here, and they use the number of jumping jacks and heart rate. So that's exactly what you state. Very strong positive correlation. All right. So Hannah went to the school store to buy supplies. She spent $16. She bought 4 more pencils than pens and 2 fewer erasers than pens. Pens cost this much each, pencils cost this much each, and erasers cost this much each. If X represents the number of pens that Hannah bought, write an equation in terms of X that can be used to find how many items that she bought. So I always used to get like confused with questions like this. Just put a key down, but just realize that one of the things that you put in your key usually just has to be one single variable. And since everything is being compared to pens, like not compared to pens, but like referred to, that's the X. So she bought 4 more pencils than pens. Okay. 2 fewer erasers than pens. So pens is the X. Right? So we're starting at X. She bought 4 more pencils than pens. 4 more means X plus 4. 4 more pencils than pens. 2 fewer erasers than pens. So we have that. All right. So pens cost $1.25 each. We have to still put this together in an equation. All right. Pencils cost 55 cents each. So we have 0.55 and pencils, and I'm going to refer back to my key, X plus 4. Then she bought erasers. So erasers are 75 cents each. And she spent $16. So you're going to have to do distributive property here. So let's go ahead. We're going to have to solve. So I'm just going to take this. Just copy it down there because I need to solve it. It says use your equation to determine algebraically how many pens that Hannah brought. So we're just going to go ahead and do distributive property here. And distributive property here. So we have 1.25x plus 0.55x. And I'm going to go 0. I'm going to clear this out. 0.55 times 4. And that's 2.2. and everything is addition, plus 0.5x, 75x, and bring up my calculator again, 0.75 times 2 minus negative 2 is negative 1.5, and that all equals 16. Now you're going to combine like terms. Combine the x's, you get 2.55x, and you combine 2.2 and minus 1.5, you do get 0.7. You subtract 0.7 on both sides, you get 2.55x equals 15.3, and you divide by 2.55. 15.3 divided by 2.55 equals 6. And x equals 6 pence. That is your answer for that one. All right. A little bit difficult with setting up the equation, but just remember, set up an equation, do your best, and then go ahead and solve that equation. You'll get points even if the equation is wrong and your solving is correct. So that's it. Remember, try your best. So I put the next question asks you to graph inequalities. So I put the negative 3 over 4x plus 5, which is the first inequality, into the equation of the inequality, into what is my y1. Then I'm going to go back to the left, and I'm going to basically put the rectangle there. I'm going to press enter. That's going to open up, and now it is a less than. So I'm going to press to the right, and that is greater than what you see there. And I'm going to press to the right one more time. That's less than. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to press OK. I'm going to move down to OK and then press enter. And you notice that this is now less than in the graph, and I'm going to press graph, and you're going to see a shaded portion there. So you press second function table, and you'll see that you have some coordinates. So just realize that negative 4, 8 is pretty much your starting point here, because the rest of it is, these are decimals. So we're not going to use the decimals, but negative 4, 8 works. Negative 8, 11 doesn't really work because they don't give you 11 on the top there. So just remember, and 5 is your, when you go to 0, 5 is your y-intercept. So I'm actually going to start with 0, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I'm going to put my point right there. All right. So now this I know is a negative 3, 4. Right. So negative 3, that's my slope of negative 3 over 4. So that is a rise of 3, which is down 3, and to the right 4. So if I go up 3, 1, 2, 3, and to the left 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, notice that you have the 4, negative 4, 8. So 0, 5 is the next one, and is the next whole number coordinate, and 4, 2 is the next whole number coordinate. So I'm going to go 4, 2. And realize this is down 3 and to the right 4 because that's the slope. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is my next point. So that should be 8, negative 1. And on my calculator, if I go down to 8 here on the x-axis, on the x side of the table, you see that negative 1. We're good. So now I'm going to go back to the graph and realize that this is shaded down. And if it's or equal to, just remember, it is a solid line. So that is a solid line. I'm going to graph my line like this. I'm going to straighten it out. Just like this. And I'm going to leave it solid only because that is an or equal to. So just don't forget also that you must put arrows on each side of this line. And it's going to shade down just like the calculator says that you're going to shade it down, and I'm going to shade it down right now. So I'm going to shade it down like this. It is less than, that's why the shade is down. That. If we want to use your ruler for this, you could use your ruler. Just go to the end of each graph, at the end of the graph, because you don't know if it's going to be the overlapping part where the double shaded area goes, and you want to make sure that you focus on everything that is on that graph. So that right there is the graph of this y is less than or equal to negative 3/4 x plus 5. Now I have some work to do here. I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to rewrite 3x minus 2y is greater than 4. I have to solve for y. To do anything with this, I have to subtract the 3x on both sides. This cancels. This negative 2y comes down. It is greater than negative 3x plus 4. Then I divide by negative 2. So I'm going to get y. I'm dividing by a negative. So there is my flip of the inequality. And I'm going to put 3 over 2x minus 2. Right? Negative 3 divided by negative 2 is a positive, 3 over 2. And 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. So now I could go ahead and put that into the calculator. I'm going to press y equals, and I'm going to go to the left right away and change that to a less than. And that is the less than. I'm going to go down to OK, press enter, and then I'm going to go over to the right. And I'm going to press alpha x, and I'm going to put 3 over 2 x minus 2. And I'm going to press graph, and you're going to see a double shaded area there. All right, so I need the table though. So I'm going to go all the way up to negative 10. No, I'm not going to go up to negative 10 because negative 8, I already see negative 14. Negative 6, negative 11, that's not going to work. I'm going to go down to negative 4, negative 8. So that's the first thing I'm going to graph. Negative 4, negative 8. So negative 4 is 1, 2, 3, 4. And negative 8 is down here. Negative 4, negative 8. Grab the calculator again. I'm going to go negative 2, negative 5. Negative 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. grab the calculator one more time. Not one more time, probably a lot. 0, -2, right here. Just remember, I'm rising 3, 1, 2, 3, running 2. Rising 3, 1, 2, 3, running 2. I'm using the slope now. Rising 3, 1, 2, 3, running 2. And then one more time, rising 3, running 2. Now, this is a less than, so that means it is going to be a dotted line. All right, so just remember that you are going to have a dotted line, and I just put a dotted line there. And it is going to be, it's a less than, so that means it should be shaded below. All right, so if it's shaded below, that means it's shaded this way, and it shows that on the graph. All right, on the graphing calculator. All right, and I am shading it, and as my double shaded area right there. Just remember to put arrows on each of those sides of the lines, and then put a giant S right here. Okay, and we put that giant S there, and we put the equation on the line, and then you answer the question, is 6,3 a solution to the system of inequalities? I put 6,3 right here. It is not in the double shaded area. It is not a solution. All right, and that's about it. All right, let's go on to 36. And a ball is projected up into the air from a surface platform to the ground below. The height of the ball above the ground is modeled by this function right here, where t is time in seconds after the ball is projected. State the height of the platform in feet. So the first thing that you do is you grab your calculator, press Y, and clear out those inequalities. Press clear twice to clear out the inequality section part of it, and then you have -16 x squared plus 96 x plus 112. All right, I'm going to press graph, and just to get a visual out of this, I'm going to need to see the top of this. So I'm going to press window, and I'm going to really put the X max. Sorry, not the X max. The X max is 10. I'm going to put the Y max because I need to see the top. So my Y max, I'm going to put it as 150, and I'm just going to see how that goes. It's not enough. So I am going to go back to the window again, and I'm going to put it as 250. Graph. Still not enough. Window. 300. I just want to see it, and this way I can get a nice visual of it. Is it completely necessary? No, probably not. But I know that this part right here is the maximum height. So state the height of the platform in feet. If the ball is projected up from the surface of a platform to the ground below, the height of the ball above the ground in feet is modeled by this function, where that instead state the height of the platform. And see, this is why I need a little bit of a visual for what's going on. So the ball is projected up from the platform into the air. So now you're saying, okay, so let me look at what is happening. So this is the ball in the air right here, focusing on what that is right here. You take a look. The ball's going up in the air. This is the platform right here. Right? So they want the height of just the platform. So if the height of the platform, I'm just going to look at the table and see if I could see when x is 0. When x is 0, the height of the platform is 112 feet. So I'm going to put the height of the platform is 112 feet. Because that is the 0 that we're talking about right there, the visual that I need. This is the platform. The ball is projected from that platform. There it is right there. So I'm good. All right, state the coordinates of the vertex. Okay, so the vertex is either at the minimum or the maximum. For this, a vertex is the max. So we're going to press, remember, second function and trace. And we're going to go to max. And we're going to state this vertex. We're going to move this over to the right just a little bit, right? Right there. We're going to press enter. That's left bound. The right bound is to the right of the vertex. I'm just going to move it right there and press enter one more time. And I'm going to press enter again. The maximum is 3,256. That is the vertex. So it's 3. Even though it's like 2.99996, it's 3. Rounded to 3. This is 256. So it is 3, 256, and that is the vertex. Then it says explain what it means in the context of the problem, and you're going to have to write in your own words what this means in the context of the problem. So this is what it means in the context of the problem. At 3 seconds, the ball is 256 feet high. And that's it. All right. State the entire interval in which the ball's height is decreasing. The entire interval at which the ball's height is decreasing. And again, I hate to say it, but like I need the visual. Right? So I'm very glad that I have this right here. So decreasing, so at this moment, that's the maximum, and it decreases after that. So that means it decreases from 3 to 7. Right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And at 7 seconds, it hits the ground. So we're going to state the entire interval over which the ball's height is decreasing. Ball from 3 to 7 seconds. Okay, last question. This is a part 4 question. It's worth the most points, usually the most work. At a local garden shop, the price of plants includes sales tax. The cost of 4 large plants and 8 medium, just going to underline, is $40. The cost of 5 large plants and 2 medium is $28. If L is the cost of a large plant and M is the cost of a medium plant, write a system of equations. You know you have to have, at a system, you have to have 2 equations. So we're going to write that right here. 4L plus 8M equals 40. So that's 4L plus 8M is 40. And then there's 5L plus 2M is 28. So that's where we're getting that from. So we have 5L plus 2M equals 28. That is worth some points there. So we have to answer the second question. Could the cost of one large plant be $550 and the cost of one medium plant be $225? Right? And it says justify your answer. I'm just going to take my first equation that I made. $4, 5.50. I don't have to put 550. I put 5.5. It'll be the same thing. I know I'm talking about money. If I put this into the calculator, the 40 equals 40. So that one works. So I'm going to check this one out. 5.5 plus 2 times 2.25, and that is supposed to equal 28. Let me see if that does. So I put that in. It's supposed to be equal to 28. It does not equal 28. It equals 32. So that equals 32. And it doesn't equal 28. So that's a big no. And that's justification for your answer. When you substitute it in and it show that it is not true. Determine algebraically both the cost of the large plant and the cost of the medium plant. So they want you to take this right here and solve it. So there's a lot of work here. All right. So I'm going to clone this and just put it down here, because we have to move it down and we have to just go ahead and rewrite it. So I'm just going to move it over here. So how would you actually go ahead and solve this? Remember, anytime you're going to use elimination, and you should use elimination, you need to get one of these variables to cancel. The L's, a little bit difficult. The M's, a little bit easier. Remember, 2 and 8 are multiples of each other, so I'm just going to go ahead and multiply. I need this to be a -8. So if I do need that to be a -8, I'm just going to multiply that by a -4. And then I'm going to do distributive property to everything inside that parenthesis. So I am going to go over here and just put -20L minus 8M. And I'm going to do 28 times -4. And that is -112. I'm going to rewrite that first equation down. And you see now that my M's will cancel. And that's what I wanted by multiplying by the 4. So this cancels right here. And I have -16L equals -72. And then I divide by -16 on both sides. And the cost of a large plant would be 4.5, my calculator says, but it is 450 per large plant. I'm going to pick one of these to go ahead and substitute into. I'll pick the top one. So 4 times 450, because that's the cost of my large plant, 8M, equals 40. And 4 times 450 is 18 plus 8M equals 40. I'm solving for M, which is the cost of the medium plant, minus 18 This cancels. You have 8m equals 22. You divide that by 8. This cancels. M equals 2.75 per medium plant. And that is the last question on the Regents. That we just went through every single question on the Regents in an hour and 45 minutes. And that's it. Rewind if you need anything, if you need to look over anything else. If not, then thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.